Hey everyone, Kelly Cullen here of Pleasant Wellness. This is video one of a two-part video series on nutrition, and in this one I'll be covering macros. This video is designed for people that have already come in for an appointment and we've just determined what your deficiencies are. We've talked about digestion, and so keep those things in mind as you're listening to this. The best advice I can give you when it comes to nutrition is to eat real whole food. Sounds so obvious, but sadly most Americans are not eating real whole food. An example is, instead of a pack of fruit snacks that probably has some artificial color and sugars in it, and applesauce is a better example. But the best option would be the piece of fresh fruit. So the more you can, just move towards those real whole foods. I'm going to cover the 3 macronutrients, and the reason I'm going to go do this, I'm going to give examples of each, is because when I started on my health journey 20 years ago, a naturopath told me everything that I couldn't eat, but not what I could. And one day I was so hungry, I sat on my kitchen floor and cried because I didn't know what to eat. Like most people my age with 2 working parents, I grew up on Hot Pockets and mac and cheese. So if you can't have that, what is there? So I'm going to go through healthy forms of each of these macros. Think of the macros like fuel on the fire. Carbohydrates are like kindling that burn up very quickly. Protein would be like medium-sized logs, and then fats or lipids are they're like really large logs that take a long time to burn and keep you satisfied for a long time. Oftentimes women are afraid of either carbs or protein or fat, especially women, but we need all of these. We just need them in the right forms and we need to be able to digest them. So good forms of carbohydrates, primarily your fruits and vegetables. I usually recommend about 2 servings of fruit a day. And juice does not count here unless you're making your own juice. But when we have juice, the fiber is removed, and that fiber is what helps your body cope with the effects of the sugar from the fruit. So that fiber is very important. This recommendation of 2 servings of fruit a day is based on your RBTI numbers. So if your sugars were very high, you may even want to do less than those 2 servings of fruit a day. And I'm sure we did that at your appointment. So 2 servings of fruit a day and at least 5 servings of vegetables a day. A combination of cooked and raw vegetables is fine. If you're cooking your vegetables, I'd like for you to either steam, saute, or roast your vegetables. And try not to cook them to death. A bit of a crunch is great. But avoid boiling, microwaving, or using canned vegetables. And then the other carbs, if you're eating grains, make sure they're whole grain. Some people think that they react to wheat or gluten, but it might actually be the glyphosate that is sprayed on the wheat. Most of conventional wheat is sprayed with glyphosate. It's the main ingredient in Roundup. Before it is harvested to make harvesting easier, but it's very toxic to our bodies. So this is one of those foods that if you're going to eat wheat, I recommend organic. So maybe you would do better with an organic. This is different than celiac. I'm not saying that if you have celiac, you can do wheat if it's organic. That's a very different thing. Okay, so if you're eating wheat or if you're eating grains, make sure they're whole grains, and even better is sprouted. Sprouted grains are easier to digest, and I really like spelt flour. I get whole spelt flour in bulk, and I use it to make whole spelt pancakes. I like for bread a sprouted buckwheat bread that I get. So that would be the good carbs. And then on to protein. The good forms of protein would be free-range chicken, turkey, and eggs, grass-fed beef, wild-caught fish, nuts and seeds, beans and legumes, lamb, venison. I would try to stay away from pork if you can. It's pretty acidic to the body and can be very toxic. And then the good fat would be real butter, Nuts and seeds have some good fat. Butter is another one of those that I would recommend having organic when possible because animals store their toxins in their fat. So conventional butter can be pretty toxic. So organic when possible on butter. And then other good forms of fat, coconut oil. Olive oil is excellent as a salad dressing. It's known to support the cardiovascular system, but it's not as stable when it's heated, so I wouldn't use it for cooking. I use avocado oil for cooking. Salmon is a great form of fat, coconut oil. What have I covered? I think that's all of the good fat. Oh, if you tolerate dairy, okay, yogurt is a good form of good fat. So get the full fat and avoid the flavored yogurts because they're typically pretty toxic. So we get a big tub of organic, plain organic whole milk yogurt at Aldi and just sweeten it with a little bit of honey or fruit. Greek yogurt has more protein than regular. So I want to talk about digestion very quickly. I'm sure I already covered it at your appointment, but if you're eating these macros and you can't digest it, you can have more issues. So a deficiency comes from either not consuming enough of something or not being able to digest it. Also, your macros carry your micros. So for instance, healthy fat, properly ingested and digested, is what carries iodine where it needs to go in the body. The thyroid and the breasts love iodine. But if you don't have healthy fat, it can't get where it needs to go. Another example is the protein-calcium connection. Protein is what carries calcium where it needs to go in the body. So if you have bone demineralization, you've probably been told to take calcium, but if you don't have enough protein properly digested, that calcium can't get where it needs to go in the body. So focus on these real whole foods, properly digested. Another quick tip is at the grocery store, try to focus on the outside aisles. It's where the healthier foods typically are. So the fruits and vegetables, the meat, the eggs, the dairy, if you tolerate it, okay. Not always, but typically those outside aisles have the healthier options. I have a Pinterest page. It's Pleasant Wellness, and I have over 2,000 recipes and articles that are there just for you. I also have a Facebook page. It's Kelly Cullen, Pleasant Wellness, where I share 3 health tips a week. So this was part 1, macros, talking about nutrition, and stay tuned for video 2.